You're listening to the Swap Society podcast, and I'm your host, Nicole Robertson. I interview thought leaders and change makers who are working to create a more sustainable and equitable world through fashion, art, and activism. Join us for a dose of climate optimism as we envision a brighter future. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Swap Society podcast. Today, I'm talking with Liisa Jokinen, a street style photographer and the founder of Gem, a search engine for online vintage clothing. Hi, Liisa. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for our discussion.
So, where are you talking to us from today?
I'm now in Williamsburg, New York, which is our current home, but originally I'm from Helsinki, Finland. If you are wondering where my weird name comes from or my accent.
And you spent some time in Los Angeles as well. Do you still do that?
So yes, we spent 4 months in Los Angeles this winter. We wanted to, first of all, kind of escape New York winter, but then also try living in another city, because why not? Because we can work from anywhere, really. And then also we have lived in San Francisco for a couple of years before we moved to New York.
Excellent. Yeah, it's so well, and that's how we met. We met when you were here in LA on one of your winters.
Yes,
It's so good to see you. I'd love for you to share a bit about your background and how did you get into fashion and photography?
Well, I'm not sure if I've ever been to fashion, really. I guess I'm more like a style person, if that makes sense.
Sure.
If I think about fashion and style, fashion for me means a lot of rules, kind of because some things are fashionable, then other things are considered unfashionable. And when you think about style, anything can be really stylish at any given point, right? So style means more freedom to me. So that's why I always like to describe myself as a street style photographer, not street fashion photographer, for example. But I have certainly always loved clothes. And as long as I can remember, I wanted to choose my own clothes, and they were really important to me. And I guess I was sometimes driving my mom nuts because I was asking her to, sew something very specific for me. And, I was very specific about what the colors that I wanted to wear when I was a little kid. And I also always loved old clothes for various reasons, I guess. I always loved the retro aesthetic, old schooly vibes. But then I also remember how old hand-me-downs clothes, how they felt so soft on my skin. They were kind of comforting. And I also like to think that, they gave me some comfort and, a safety when I was attending kindergarten and school, because I was very shy when I was little.
Oh, that's so interesting. I love hearing your perspective of the difference between, your perspective on fashion versus style, but also just how comforting clothes were to you when you were younger and how important that was to you. I think that some people really do kind of attach onto something specific. So it's really interesting that yours happened to be kind of vintage clothing. And then here you are today, the founder of a really cool app and website that helps people find vintage from all over the web. Tell us about Gem, how it works, and what inspired you to found it.
Yes, sure. So Gem, it's a search engine for all online vintage and secondhand clothing and accessories. And it really helps you to find whatever you might be looking for on the internet. And what inspired us to really launch something like this was I always wanted to have something like this, let's put it that way. But also when I moved from Helsinki, Finland to San Francisco, I suddenly discovered so many new online stores, new to me online stores, selling platforms and resale apps, and real and also brick and mortar stores and Instagram stores, and the amount of vintage and secondhand clothing was just overwhelming to me. Of course, I was like super excited and inspired too, like, whoa, seeing like things that I had never seen before and the amount and, just the variety. But even before I lived in San Francisco, I certainly knew that we have way too many clothes in the world. We are making too many clothes. We buy too many and so on. But then if you go back to the time when I was new in San Francisco. So first, like I mentioned, I was like super excited and eager to discover and starting to follow all those platforms and stores. But still, although there was like so much, it didn't help me at all when I was trying to find a specific vintage item. Quite the opposite, because I even didn't know like where to start looking. For example, I wanted to have a new pair of like Levi's blue jeans 501s, which I always wear if I go for blue jeans. But then I had no idea like where to start shopping. And at the same time also, if I was visiting like vintage or thrift stores or just browsing like any platforms, I would just see like so many amazing things. And I was always thinking that, whoa, like a friend of mine would love this, or this would be great for this and that person. But of course, like there was only so much that I could buy and own and wear. So of course I couldn't like buy everything that I spotted. So I was thinking there must be a better way of connecting active vintage seekers like me and thrifters with all the amazing gems that were online out there. And that's how I came up with the idea of building a search engine for all online vintage. And yeah, so the idea is pretty simple, but at the same time, it can be quite revolutionary. And how it works is that if you're using the gem, you just type in what you are looking for, like blue Levi's jeans, and then we show listings from resale platforms like Etsy, eBay, RealReal, for example, and also from hundreds of independent online stores. And I think those independent online stores really make a huge difference, because they are like, how could you possibly discover them if you would be shopping for vintage jeans, for example?
I love it. It's so exciting. I love vintage clothing. So we definitely share that passion. Although I fell more into it in college, not when I was quite as young as you were. But I would go, it really was treasure hunting for gems, right? I would go to thrift shops. I lived in Chicago, and I would go to thrift shops, and I would always try to explore new thrift shops that I had never been to and neighborhoods I had never been in. I was always, kind of I loved just hunting, right? And I have a good girlfriend that also liked to do it. So we would go together, but sadly we were the same size. So that made it difficult sometimes.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And I found so many cool pieces, but you really had to hunt. This was before, there were things on the internet anyway, but I think that one of the exciting things about Gem is that if you do have something in mind, it makes it so much easier to find what you're looking for. And even just if you are in that treasure hunting mode, even just looking around, looking at a certain brand, looking in your size, and just trying to find something, that suits you. And I think that the easier it gets for people to find vintage and secondhand, like it is today, and it's just evolving so much right now with technology, I think it's more welcoming for people, because not everyone is willing to go comb through and dig through racks of clothes and try to find something. It's really a lot of work and effort to do that. And I'm assuming that I don't know how in touch you are with people who are using the service, how much feedback you're getting, but I'm assuming, and at least from my personal experience, I assume that they love the ease of use and just how it really does give you access to so many places at once.
Well, yes, yeah, our users, they totally love the app. We have great reviews on App Store, and I love it. And I love hearing back from our users, because that helps us to develop it further, of course. yes, it suddenly like saves you time because you don't need to open separately so many websites, apps, etc. And I remember also like before we launched Gem, like how often like some people would comment to me that I would totally go and shop secondhand and go thrifting, but I don't have time. Mm-hmm. And because it's so random, like if you go to a thrift store, you never know what you're going to find. Of course, that's the thrill of it too. It's fun because it's like full of surprises and I love it. But for some people who have like career, maybe kids, family, to take care of, it's like, it's too time consuming to go thrifting. And those people were also like in my mind when we started developing the Gem app. And also how Gem helps you is that I know that many people have discovered like new stores and vendors through Gem that they didn't know about before. And, now they are like regular shoppers and followers of those stores and vendors. So I love it, cool. Of course. If I can help like any store finding new customers, I'm happy.
That's amazing. Yeah, with Swap Society, we do get vintage. It's still a small percentage of what people are swapping on our platform, but I love it. I hope to see more and more. We're doing a video, but if you're just listening, I'm assuming we're both wearing vintage. I made a point of wearing this really cool vintage top. Here, let me see if I can.
Yeah, I love it. Is it the phrase?
It is. Oh, yeah. See, you know.
Yeah, of course. I love those tops.
Yeah, it's so fun. And it has these little tassels. Yeah. Really fun. I guess I could tie a bow or something, but I think it's more fun just to kind of, have them dangling. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love how colorful it is. And I know that from following you, I know that you also are a big fan of color. Do you feel like vintage fashion was more colorful than fashion today?
Wow, that is such an interesting question. I never thought about that actually. Well, I think it's easier to find like nice color when I go vintage shopping. I don't know if it's more, but maybe like now that I think, like if you think about like old photographs, taken like in 60s, 70s, 80s, like family photographs, people are only wearing black if it's like someone's funeral, right? Other than that, it's more colors for sure. So maybe it's gone towards like the tone of blackness.
And it's probably a sales choice too, right? Fashion brands have become so conscious about what's going to sell. So I think that a lot of people like neutrals, feel safe wearing neutrals. And so, I don't know, from my perspective, I feel like vintage clothing tends to be more colorful on average than fashion today. That doesn't mean that you don't find something colorful here and there, but I feel like the majority of clothes in the modern day are, black, beige, gray, white.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah. And also I really like how the color shades of vintage clothes, they're a bit different. Like if you go to any contemporary clothes stores, I feel like all the colors are kind of dull. I don't, or either they're like a bit dull, or they are like garish, like on the borderline neon. I mean, I love neon colors too, but I don't like the modern shades for some reason.
So what are you wearing right now?
Oh, so I'm wearing something that I actually got. Some things I got in Los Angeles. This is a 2-piece silk set. I love a 2-piece set because, that's like several pieces in a one kind of situation. This is from a really interesting store in Los Angeles. It's called Redress, and I'm happy to advertise them because it's the first rent-a-rack store in the US. So anyone can go and sell their extra items there by renting a rack for I think minimum 2 weeks, maximum 4 weeks. So this set is from Redress. And of course, because it's not like regular people selling their items, it's a nice variety from like contemporary to designer to real vintage and everything in between.
Cool.
So I like that. And the prices can be affordable too, because, normal people like us selling their old clothes.
Oh,
and
that's
then,
cool.
Yeah. And then the sweater vest that I'm wearing on top for extra warmth, it's still a bit cold here in New York. This is a funny story because this I just randomly grabbed at the Hester Street Fair here in New York. It was a really hot day last fall, but I was wearing like a top, and one of the straps just broke. So I had to, had something on top so that I wouldn't reveal too much of myself. And I just picked this. I loved the color, and now I'm getting to love it. I love wearing knit sweater vests or
So
crochet,
cool.
like granny square crochet vests on top of everything.
So you mentioned granny, and I know, obviously I know a lot about you, but going into this, how would you describe your style?
Oh, well, you mentioned colors before me, so I guess it's colorful. At some point, I realized that if I wear black, I'm going to feel kind of black. It doesn't make me any happier. So, but colors can, make me happy. So I decided to skip the color black. I sometimes wear it too, but mostly I love colors. What else? Yeah, I like granny style. I have to admit. Lately, I've been really into Y2K things too, because I'm seeing it so much, and I love that how it's kind of like challenging me in a way, because I've seen it already once, and I was always thinking that I'm never going to wear like low-rise jeans again, or like waist, like belts hanging on my waist or hips, or like crop tops. But now I'm like, I love it. And I love how I love the thing that trends are coming back, and I love how in this way I can also challenge my way of thinking and dressing. And that's why I actually always loved thrifting, because it was a way for me to kind of reinvent the style and, put my own twist on it without shopping it near. You just look at the magazines and okay, this is trending. Okay, let's go thrifting. And you'll certainly find, an older or another variation of the theme at the thrift store. And,
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, this is my second Y2K fashion moment as well. I have it on my list of things that I want to do that for social. I want to dig through some old photos, but they're not digital. So it's kind of a whole big project, which is why I keep putting it off. But just showing some things. What was I wearing at that time?
Oh my God. So I was just recently photographing someone, and she was wearing some diesel. They were really fun diesel boots. And I remember the time when diesel was the thing in Helsinki, and I had all my jeans were from diesel. And I'm like, why don't I have those anymore? I would totally wear them now. So I'm so much into Y2K. I'm ready.
I love it. So one thing that I think that I'd love to hear about, and we've talked about this before, but I know that you used to have a clothing library in Finland, and please tell us about that. What was that like? How did it work?
Yeah. So well, it was like a clothing library. So you could be a member, and then by paying certain amount, not too much, I guess, it was just some, let's say from $100 to $200 per month. And then depending on how much you paid, you could come and borrow 2 to 4 items for a couple of weeks and then return them and, borrow something new again. And how it was born was that, like I mentioned, I was already at that time realizing that I have too many clothes. I'm not going to wear these. I don't have time to wear them all. And the same thing was like, of course, like applied to all my friends in Helsinki. And then we started like chatting how cool it would be if we had like a shared wardrobe that could be just one room. And, and then we all would have like a key to that door and we could come anytime, pick anything, leave the stuff, that we wouldn't wear at that moment, and if we wanted to have something back, we could just take it back to our homes,
Mm-hmm.
instead of like departing from it like forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so we arranged first like a little like party. So everyone brought their old clothes. We organized them on the racks. And then we just started basically like swapping clothes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there was not money involved at that point. But, the next day we were in the news, like the Finnish national broadcasting company made a story about us, although we were not like anything official. We didn't have a name or place or anything like that. But after being in the news, we realized that maybe we need to make this thing like official and public, mm-hmm. and accept like more members, not mm-hmm. only like friends. And that's how it started. And we ran the library for maybe 3 years, but we closed it when I moved to San Francisco. And then a friend of mine with whom I was running it, she got pregnant and she realized that she is not able to take care of it by herself. And we were running it on the side of our normal day jobs.
Sure.
So it was a lot. So I'm like, it was a nice experience, but it was also really hard to make it profitable or a proper business, because the more members we got, the more items we needed. And not all members were so good at taking care of the clothes that they borrowed. So I felt like there was not like attachment to the clothes that the members borrowed. And I think that was the reason why some people didn't take good care of the items. Whereas if you buy something, so you invest in a piece, then you are maybe more willing to really take care of the item.
Mm-hmm.
So there were some challenges, so to say, but it was a nice experience. And surprisingly enough, there are like multiple clothing libraries now all around Finland.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we were the first ones.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, that's something that we had to really think about a lot with our model as well. And we're not rental, right? So people can keep the items that they take out of the swap. They don't have to ever give them back. They can keep them forever if they want. They can swap them back. But if it comes back in a different condition and it's not, an acceptable condition, then we just don't accept it. But it is tough. That is one of the tougher things about like a closed lending situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think it worked as long as we were all friends together. Because if you're borrowing something from a friend, of course you want to, return it in, washed and ironed and nice.
Yeah.
But when you're, like I mentioned, like if you don't know the person from who you are borrowing, or if you are not like personally attached to the piece, it's like harder.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I bet. So,
but it was nice, like having the access to like some extra clothes that you could, yeah, it was fun.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I know. Now that I own a clothing swap, I have, it's interesting. I have kind of this very, very large wardrobe that I can choose from, which is super fun and amazing. At the same time, I'm kind of at the whim of what comes in, just like all the rest of the members of Swap Society. So, I do actually find myself wearing more neutrals than I think I would wear if I were just going out and kind of just shopping for myself, shopping secondhand and vintage. But I look at it as kind of a style challenge. And also, I don't know, for me, with my personal style, I love experimenting and having fun. And so for me, it's very mood based. So one day I might look super preppy and the other day I might look super funky, I'm kind of all over the place. And so for me, it's like, well, what's my mood?
Yeah. I love it. And I love when there is a little bit of challenge. Like lately now that I've been like living, honestly, I only have like a suitcase full of clothes now because we've been moving around so much. Everything else is in the storage unit. But I love the challenge that I need to, figure out like different combinations, and also seeing like, okay, if I want to buy something new, then I need to get rid of at least one item, because then, everything doesn't fit into my bag. So
it's cool. It's like you're forced to have a capsule wardrobe.
yeah. So yeah, it forces me to think like what I really love and what is my style, and also prohibits me from like just shopping for the fun of it. I need to very carefully consider like what I actually need and if I would wear it. Mm-hmm. It's good.
Yeah, it's so important to think about that. I think that in our culture of overconsumption, so many of us just shop for the sake of shopping. I know that I've done that in the past, not for many years, but
me too.
I was that person.
Yeah.
I was that shopping addict kind of person. It was fun. I loved having new stuff, but then I started to become much more mindful of the impact for the greater good of the world and environment, but also for my finances, the space things were taking up in my closet. Maybe it's just that we're getting older and wiser. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. But I really think that although we would shop only secondhand, we should still be like mindful, not just, not do like too many thrift hauls.
Yeah. I was a thrift hauler. Before that was a term, but I would do that. I definitely have done that before.
Oh, yeah. I admit I admit everything. I've done everything.
Guilty.
Yes.
So I know that this is maybe an impossible question to ask, but I love a good fashion love story. And do you have a favorite piece in your closet, and why is it your favorite?
Oh, this is an easy question for me. And I actually thought that you would know the answer because you already mentioned the word granny earlier. So all my favorite items are the ones that I have inherited from my grandmother. That's for sure, because I love when like the clothes have like so many meanings to them, and the histories and stories. So there is nothing more valuable than to have like an item from someone that I deeply loved. Mm-hmm. Sadly, she's not here anymore, but I have the clothes, and I feel like I can, kind of like hang with my grandmother, again when I'm every time when I'm wearing her old clothes.
I love it.
So she kept everything. Like she collected like old clothes from her relatives, and then kept them at at her attic. And she waited until I was like maybe like 15 years old until she let me go in and take whatever I wanted.
How fun!
Somehow she knew that I need to be like older and wiser before I could get my hands on those clothes. So I have like a lot of stuff from more distant relatives, but then also from my grandmother. And luckily we are the same size, so I can wear basically everything that I inherited from her. I don't have of course her full wardrobe, but I have some items that I think I'm going to keep forever.
Oh, I love that. I have some really special pieces from my grandmother as well. And I remember, there were some things that were hanging in her closet that I knew she didn't wear anymore. And I would just open her closet sometimes and look at some of these dresses. I have so many memories of just being in her closets. And then there were a few things that I was able to get, and I was so excited about it. And it does. I mean, those pieces that we feel connected to and that we have family history with, it can be such a fun memory, and just the energy of that piece. I don't know. It's so cool. So I feel that with you for sure. I actually just posted, I did a reel an Instagram reel about one of her dresses that I love so much.
Oh, cool. I need to check it out.
It sounds like you have a lot more than I have. I don't have very much. She is still alive, but she didn't really keep very much. I don't think she kept all of her older things, although I wish she had. She had really cool style, but I'll, I'm happy with what I've gotten, what I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
So who or what is inspiring you right now?
My inspiration is always the people that I meet in the street, whom I photograph on my street style page, which is called NYC Looks. And the first one was called Hell Looks, like Helsinki Looks. So, I think each and every one of those persons inspires me. And I feel like they also have some kind of effect on my personal style. So I don't need to subscribe to Vogue to get the inspiration. Street style is my fashion Bible.
I love it. I imagine it's not hard to find, people with interesting style in New York. So inspiration is everywhere. Although I do feel like, and I've spent time in New York, many, many times over the years. It does seem like a lot of people, though, they just follow the Black New York uniform. So maybe it makes it easier to find the people that are a little quirkier and have their own unique style in the sea of black.
Maybe I'm afraid that if there is a whole black outfit, maybe I don't even see it, because I'm so much after, the color for sure. Also because if it's a black outfit, it's, I actually hate saying this, but if you post it on Instagram doesn't like the whole black outfit. So
interesting.
Yeah. So I shouldn't, of course, photograph for Instagram. I should just photograph for myself and for my followers. But I can see that it affects, my photography.
Interesting. Oh, that's so interesting to know. I didn't realize that they favored colorful fashion, but I imagine that people are drawn to the colorful fashion. I know that I am. I love colorful fashion anyway, but I think that I love seeing bright, colorful, bold mixes of color when it comes on the feed. That always gets me really excited.
Yeah, it stands out, and then people start looking at the photo and liking it, and then it, Instagram boosts it even more. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, New York is the best city for street style photography in the world for sure. It's like you said, it's easy to find interesting styles here. So I'm thankful for being able to live in this city.
How do you think LA style differs from New York style?
It's more casual and relaxed, more sports related.
Mm-hmm.
Like a fun LA outfit for me, what I was spotting there, it would be it's actually it's a lot of color, like pastel color, some fun prints might be mixed into, but it would be t-shirt, jeans, sweatshirts, sneakers kind of combination. But they can all be in fun colors. Mm-hmm. So maybe pinkish t-shirt with some fun print or graphics, and then green jeans with multicolored sneakers.
Yeah, that's cool. It's so much more casual here for sure.
Of course, you can spot that kind of looks here in New York too, but for me that's the LA look.
Yeah, and lots of denim. I feel like
that's true.
I wear so much more denim living in LA than I ever did before I lived here. I lived in San Francisco also before I came here, and before that Chicago. But I'm embracing it. Maybe it's also just a phase, but I feel like jeans are my uniform. I have jeans on now with jeans and a cool top. That's my kind of go-to. I wear a lot of dresses also, but yeah, it's so I don't know about you, but I've been experiencing quite a lot of eco anxiety lately, and reasonably so. And I know that a lot of people like us that are working kind of in that sustainable, quote unquote, sustainable fashion space, we know so much, right? So it's on our minds. We're thinking about it a lot. What makes you feel optimistic about the future, keeping all of that in mind?
Younger generations. I feel like, okay, we mentioned older and wiser, but in general, I feel like the younger kids, they are just they know so much and they are super mindful and, so I'm not trying to say that we don't need to do anything because we are like older and retired from all of this, but of course we need to do our part. But I'm like younger kids, they bring me like a joy and hope in these times.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have probably been following like those ThreadUp resale reports that they launch every year or so you can see how like thrifting and secondhand and sustainability are like they're just like the number one choice for younger generation. It's like secondhand first and then comes the rest, and like thrifting is like new normal. So there is a huge like attitude and mindset change happening, and younger generations are leading the way. But of course, yeah, like mentioned, we need to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then at the same time, there are some stats out there, that, for example, 1 in 3 young women find a garment old after 1 or 2 wears. So you also have the fast fashion shoppers. But at the same time, I think, okay, but there are more and more platforms that are making it easier to, so they think that something's old after wearing it a couple of times, but at least a big percentage of those people are also saying, okay, but I like secondhand. It's kind of like if you want to have that much variety in your wardrobe, the only way that can be done sustainably is if you are shopping, secondhand.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's frightening, like the new fast fashion companies that have been growing so fast. Yes, and it's terrifying. But what I was about to say, that of course, like if it's too easy to get rid of your old clothes, if they are like if you wore them 300 times, 30 times, or 3 times, it's not all. It's cannot be sustainable to because if reselling is too easy, and if it's super easy, it can also like boost our
more consumption.
Yes, yeah. So it's a tricky situation, but then once again, like I'm referring to ThreadUp report, because that's I don't have the numbers or facts. I'm not able to do research like that myself. So, but they are also like
every year.
Yeah. So they are also they are stating like how more and more people are considering the resale value of the item when they are purchasing something new. So I think that's also something that brings me hope, that if that mindset changes, so that people are not, when they are shopping new, they are already thinking about how long I'm going to wear this, if I want to get rid of it, if I get tired of it, what I'm going to do. So they are already like preparing for the second life of that garment. So I think that's a good thing, of course, because then it probably makes people also think that, is this like good quality enough? Does this last long enough, so that if I wash this like once, will it still look good? Can I still like resell it, and so on?
Yeah, I mean, and it's so cool that that's becoming the norm of how people are thinking about purchases. I didn't think that way when I was younger. I bought something because I liked it and I thought it was fun and I wanted to wear it. And I wasn't thinking about the end of life. And then, I gave a lot of clothes away when I was done with them. I think it's so cool to see that happening, with younger people. And yeah, we need more and more of that, perspective and energy, pushing us forward and into the future. So it's exciting to see. Well, this has been so much fun connecting and saying hello, seeing your face and having this chat. Please tell us how people can find you.
Okay, so the GEM app, it's on the website, gem.app, and you can find all the download links and social media there. On Instagram, we are gem.search. And then my street style photography, it's NYC Looks. On Instagram, NYC_LOOKS.
Amazing. And we'll have all of that in the show notes too.
Yes. If you type NYC Looks, it will show up. Don't worry about the underscore thing.
Perfect. Well, I hope you have a beautiful day. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And
thank you so much.
Thank you again. Have a good one. Bye.
Yeah, hope to see you soon. Okay, bye. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Swap Society podcast. Swap Society is an online clothing swap for women and kids that makes it easy and affordable to mix up your wardrobe sustainably. We're a growing community of women across the USA who are creating positive change by swapping our clothes and slowing down our fashion consumption. We would love to swap with you. If you're interested in joining, you can sign up at our website. Learn more at www.swapsociety.co. That's swapsociety.co. You can find the show notes for each episode on our website. Please get in touch with us on social media too. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and YouTube for the video version of this podcast at Swap Society. Music is by Joel Korolitz and yours truly. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Please help us spread the word by subscribing, leaving a rating and review, sharing on social media, or simply telling a friend. We really appreciate your support. Have a wonderful day, and remember to swap before you shop.